Hey guys, hello, good evening. How are we doing? Hope everyone is okay. Oh, blast, I forgot to fire up the laptop. Okay, well, I'll just have to do without it tonight. I'm not going to waste everyone's time whilst we wait for it to start up. So, uh, yeah, running late. My daughter decided to get up just before I was about to go on and wanted a cup of milk, so I had to take care of that. But all is sorted now. So, hey, Mike, you are the first to arrive, I think. He's certainly the first to post in the chat, which is cool. So thanks for that. I'm just taking care of a little bit of business here, which I was going to do before I got on. But as I said, my daughter got up, so I had to go deal with that. And she's back in the bed now. Bobby Booth is here. He says hello. Hey, Bobby, good to see you. And just Bob, my other good friend called Bob, is here, and he says top of the morning to you. I'm only half Irish, but yeah, I'll take that. Yep, it is 7 minutes past midnight here in Scotland. Weather yesterday was absolutely glorious. Today, yeah, considerably less glorious. In fact, downright miserable. Dark, cold, and wet all day. So, not a whole lot of fun was had by Clan Lipsham today. Couldn't take the kids outside, so which is a shame because they were looking forward to going outside because they'd been outside all day yesterday. So, well, what can you do? Stephen Greenwood is here. He says hello. Chris is here, and he says howdy. Howdy to you too. I should get this guy switched on as well because we may be needing that because I have a very interesting talking point, and I must thank my good friend Mike Neighbor for this talking point. He doesn't realize that he has totally inspired this talking point, but he has. So, and hopefully it will help him a wee bit as well, seeing as we were talking about this kind of subject matter just the other night. So hopefully this will help. But we're going to wait until the room fills up a little bit more. We've got 12 people watching, which is cool. Yes, Mike, you did. So, and I do actually have a 2-part video series on this, but you know what? I thought I could just say, right, everybody go and watch that and then come back and ask any questions, but not really constructive. So I thought, hey, why don't we do a new and updated version of my Power of the Key Change series? Now, I could just do a couple of videos on it, but I thought, no, let's do it as a live stream, and then that way it will be a bit more involved, and you guys can ask your questions as we go along, and that will help not only you guys who are watching, but it'll also help anybody else that watches this after the fact. So I put the title as April 23rd, 2018, but really I probably should have put the Power of the Key Change. So yeah, Robert Overbeat wants to ask a question before we get going, and you most certainly can, my friend. Go ahead. And we have a new person in here. I'm gonna butcher your name, so I apologize, but your name is Amit Daimari, I think that's right. I apologize if I've completely butchered your name. No offenses intended. But welcome. Good to have you here. And I hope you enjoy the stream. And I hope you've also been able to, whilst you've been waiting for the stream to start, take a wee look at some of the other videos that I've got on my channel here. I've got quite a lot. Got, I think, nearly 200 now. Robert Overbeek asks his question, and he says, does a song's rhythm in 4/4 have to always begin on beat 1? I have a great heavy riff, but it begins on beat 1 to start, but ends and is repeated on beat 3 of the second bar and continues through the verse. No. A song's rhythm does not need to start on beat 1. A great example would be One Drop Reggae music. Go and check out some One Drop Reggae music. Somebody like Bob Marley is a very, very fine example, but he's not the only example of One Drop Reggae. And you know, you'll pretty much hear that the main emphasis actually on One Drop Reggae is on beat 3. It's not on beat 2 or beat 4 or beat 1. The main emphasis is very much on beat 3. So when you listen to the bass part does not start on beat 1, like you kind of expect it to. You'd expect it to go dun 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 dun, which it doesn't. For the most part, good authentic reggae music will start on either the upbeat of beat 1 or it will start square on beat 2. So it'll maybe go do 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 do. So basically beat 1 is pretty much fairly strictly and fairly universally avoided by reggae music. So no, the short answer is you can pretty much, it's your song. You can do whatever you want with it. If you want it to start on beat 2, have it start on beat 2. If you want it to start on beat 3, have it start on beat 3. Do whatever you want. It's your song. Now, the cool thing about starting somewhere else on the beat, particularly if you're going to start on what they call a weak beat, like beat 2, or starting on beat 4, is that you can basically throw a little bit of a curveball into the rhythm of a song, which can be a very, very cool effect. You can give the impression of the song being in a different meter when really it is in 4/4. Like I've heard some really, really good songs where the implied meter is 7, but because everything is phrased in groups of 7, but really it's very definitely in 4/4. So I hope that helps. Amit says, thank you. Yep, good to have you here. Just Bob says you have two squares of acoustic foam panels behind you. How effective are they? They're pretty good, actually. And I'll tell you why I've got them there is because it's to do with the shape of this room and the length from where my speakers are to that wall at the back there. Now, I really wanted to put some panels on the back door as well, but I kind of ran out of panels. But those are actually they're kind of deliberately over my shoulder. They could be a little bit more square on, but they're right over my shoulder. The reason why they're there is they're going to knock down any direct reflections that are going to go straight back off that wall and come straight back into the center of the room. That's kind of what they're there for. Now, you can't see all of my acoustic treatment because of the angle of the camera shot, but I do have acoustic treatment to my left, to my right. I've got some bass traps in that corner, bass traps in that corner, and then I've got another set of panels here, which you can kind of see a little bit. Another set of panels here, which are out of shot for you guys. So yeah, what I did was my wife held my panels up towards kind of like roughly the area I thought they needed to go, and then I did the good old clap test. And if we could hear flutter echo, we would move the panel until the flutter echo went away. And then that's where we'd put the panels. Where we put these two on the left and right was a little bit more scientific. Basically, we wanted to find the angles of first reflection. And Rainer, my good friend at Y64 Studio, says the acoustic changed a lot since you sold the cabinet. Yes, definitely. This room has a lot more bass in it now because the cabinet that was over in this corner here took a lot of the low end in this room, absorbed a lot of the low end. So that's a big change. And Deer Creek is saying buffering bad here. Yeah, I don't know why. It does look like we have a bit of low signal strength here. So quality might not be particularly good. Try refreshing. That might help you out. Let's see. Let's see if I missed anything. B7. I always feel like I should just play a B7 chord. There you go, B7. Do you think Presonus Symphonic Orchestra is good enough for final master recordings? Is only appropriate for mock-ups and demos? That's a great question. Now, I do have on my YouTube channel a series of, I think, 9 videos where I go through all of the sections of the Presonus Symphonic Orchestra and all the key switches and everything else. Now, if you were to compare it to something like East West Orchestra or the Vienna Orchestral Library or something like that, which is worth probably about, I mean, the cost of those is probably about 4 or 5 times the amount that you would pay out for the PSO. There's a lot more detail. There's a lot more articulations. There's a lot more features. But the Presonus Symphonic Orchestra samples recordings of the London Symphonic Orchestra. Now, I've worked personally with the London Symphony Orchestra, so I kind of know what they're like, and I know kind of what kind of caliber musicians that you have there, and I know that a lot of care was taken over how these instruments were recorded for the samples. But the key switches you get are relatively limited, and I think it's kind of aimed at that kind of middle of the road kind of bracket of person working with, or maybe is not kind of an expert in working with orchestral libraries, and so maybe doesn't need quite so many of the articulations, but it is really, really good. The price point that it is at, I'll tell you this, it is a fantastic product, and the quality at that price point is outstanding. Is it as good as something that's worth $1,000? No, but I don't think Presonus themselves would say that they aimed for that market, that market area, because I don't think they did. I don't think that was in their necessarily their marketing intention. I think they're aiming it pretty much at the songwriter that wants some orchestral sounds in their songs, in which case it's perfect. Stephen Gruen talks about breaking the bar line. Yes, absolutely. And Robert Overbeek is off to go and check out Bob Marley. Good man. Bobby Booth is asking how the VIP is going. The VIP is actually very, very nearly ready. I know I keep saying it's kind of coming, and I sound a little bit like a stuck record. I do apologize. We're just working out the last few features that we want in it, and we're working out some of the last design issues. So I'm thinking that very, very soon I should be able to start putting a launch date into your minds by telekinesis, obviously. Yeah, I will start talking about a launch date, and we will do a special launch live stream for it, and all of that fun stuff. And I may, if I've got the bandwidth to do it, I don't know how well it's going to work, but I might just try to get my good friend Rich Westfall, if he's available and if he's up for it. He might not be, but if he's up for it, I might actually get him on the show to maybe help us take a wee guided tour of the VIP area and see if I can get you guys interested in joining up. It's I'm reviewing at the moment how much it's going to cost. I've kind of bandied about talking about £12 per month, but I'm reviewing that at the moment. I might actually reduce it a little bit. So just so you know, so I'm just putting that idea out there. So yeah, so design of it is going really well. It's going to look fantastic. The content that you guys are going to get is going to be really, really good. It really is going to be really, really good. And I'm going to be working my increasingly large butt off to make sure that you guys get the best stuff that I can possibly come up with. Just Bob says, are the samples copyright free and can be used for your music creations? Absolutely. I don't really see the point of a sample library that you can't use. So yes, they are copyright free. I know you do get some that are not royalty free. I do know that there are some that you have to give credit for. You use it and then you have to say this sample came from X library. I know that there are some libraries out there where you have to do that, but the Presonus Symphonic Orchestra is just basically a sound set. They call it a construction kit, but it's essentially a sound set for the Presence XT. And that's how it comes. When you download it, it downloads to your sound sets folder for the Presence XT, and that's where they appear. So there you go. That's how they look. And yeah, go check out my video series if you want some more in-depth information on what they are like. So there you go. And Deer Creek says, PSO aimed at people like me, arranger hacks. Yeah, they're pretty good. Deer Creek says he's refreshed half a dozen times now. Yeah, you know what, folks? I don't know what the story is with the internet. Unfortunately, I cannot control it. All I can do is just hit the go live button, and that's about all I can control. If you guys are having buffering issues, I suggest just keep refreshing. And if that's a problem for you, then I just suggest backing out altogether and maybe catching up with the replay. But I'm looking at the replay just now, and it actually looks pretty good. looks like we've got pretty good quality just now. Albeit it is freezing every now and then, and we're getting a little bit of pixelation. But yeah, you're just gonna have to put up with it a little bit, folks. I mean, I do say, you know, my live stream in terms of picture and audio quality is not going to be as good as Johnny Gibe's or Dave Vignola's streams. It just isn't, because I don't have the amount of bandwidth that they have. To run a live stream pretty much maxes out the bandwidth that we as a household have. So if my wife is on her phone on Facebook, that's going to steal some quality, or, you know, or anything else really. That's about it really. John Anderson says, did you update your Series 3 firmware? Do you mean, did I update it for the addition of door mode and all of that? I'll let you into a little secret, guys. I've been using door mode for months. I've just not been able to talk about it. But now that it's in the public release, public domain, yeah, it's wonderful. So I'm glad that there are people here that are really liking it, and it's really cool. I certainly am loving door mode and all the stuff that comes with it, and I'm really excited by some of the new stuff that's in this release of Universal Control and all of that. It's really, really cool. Now, I can't go into too tremendous amounts of detail because, you know, beta for PreSonus products tends to just be ongoing, so I can't really talk in too much detail, other than I can talk about what is out there in the public domain. I can talk about that, but I can't really talk about anything else, I'm afraid. Audio fine, video is bad. That's okay. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Not a lot I can do about it. Until we move house, this is pretty much what we're stuck with. And unfortunately, the house that we were hoping to have been accepted to rent, we lost that to another tenant. So they got the house, we didn't. So our search for a new home continues, unfortunately. But I really do thank everybody actually who is in the HST Studio One family who has been involved with my good friend Mike Neighbors' GoFundMe page that he set up on my behalf. I did not ask him to do it. He did it of his own volition. And I just basically didn't stop him doing it, to be honest, because he wanted to help, and he felt that this was a way that he could help. So I really, really appreciate everybody's help, because it's taken off of our shoulders a lot of the worry about moving, you know, the financial burden of moving, as in having to pay deposit, as in having to, you know, potentially have a little bit of crossover, having to pay rent on this place whilst then going to pay rent on a new place, and the crossover of bills and all of that, because that, you know, that can really be a massive hammer blow to a lot of people financially. So the fact that you guys donated, and we had a couple of very generous donors from outside of the Studio One community as well, has made a huge difference. You guys have no idea, and you guys have totally blown me away. So massive thanks for that. Rob Overbeek says, hey, I won Syntronic Deluxe in a drawing. Really cool synths, but I'm a guitarist. Well, you know what? Learning keyboards, now's the time. Since you won that, now's the time for you to start getting into keyboards and synths and stuff. It's like $500 worth of synths. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations, Robert. I appreciate that. I appreciate you telling me. That's awesome. Congratulations. Well done. I don't tend to win very much. I take part in a lot of contests and tend to win very little. Unfortunately, it would appear we've lost a few viewers, so we're down to 11 now. That's probably down to maybe some buffering and that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of a shame. So we might keep the show a little bit shorter than we normally would tonight, because there's probably about half the people we'd normally have on a stream. So if these streams are not really helping folks, then I may well review doing them every week. But we'll see about that. you guys can inform me. Okay, let's get on to the talking point, because we've been just chit-chatting back and forth now for about 25 minutes. So it'd be really cool if we could get into the talking point. So my talking point is all to do with changing keys from one key to another. So going from any major key to any other major key, that's where we will start. And then we will look at the slightly more complex thing of going from a major key to a minor key, or from one minor key to another minor key. It's a little bit more involved technically, but going from major key to major key is actually very, very straightforward. There is a lot of information out there on this subject, and some of it actually they make it very, very complicated. They start going into things like, here's a harmonic wheel that shows you how every possible chord and every possible key center is related to every other possible chord and every other possible key center. Whilst that is a really, really helpful device and a really helpful resource for detailed study, it's probably not the best place to actually start when you want to learn just the very basics, and you want to learn enough to actually get going and being able to apply changing key in your songs. So there is a very, very, very simple formula that we are going to look at. And as I say, I did do a couple of videos on this. I'm going to see if I can very, very quickly find the document that I used in that video, and I'll share my screen and we'll pull it up. And I'll try and move this document around. Now, I've not got my laptop on, so I'm going to have to keep on flitting between. Hang on a second. There we go. I'm going to have to keep flitting between this and the stream. So I do apologize. You're going to be seeing the stream occasionally as well. So I'm hoping now that you guys can actually see this, which hopefully you will. There is a little bit of a delay, and I hope this is not going to completely destroy the bandwidth that we've got. So, all right. So on this screen, I don't know how well you can see it. I might have to zoom in a bit. Let's zoom in maybe a wee bit. Let's zoom into maybe 100%. Because we're going to focus on this bit up here. So let me know if you can see this, guys, in the chat. It looks like you can see it on the stream. I'm looking at it right now, which is cool. All right. So actually, maybe I should just pull this up on my phone just for now, just so that I can see what you guys are talking about. I'll just turn the volume off. Pull this up on my phone. And I'll open the chat. Oh, I want live chat. Mike says, can I messenger you questions? You could, but you could just post them here as well. Seeing as you're in chat, Mike, you may as well just post them here. Okay, so everyone's seeing what I'm seeing. That's cool. All right, so we're going to focus on the left page at the moment, okay? So we're going to focus on this one, the major keys one. And the reason we're focusing on this because this is nice and simple and straightforward. And the minor key one is a little bit more complicated. As you can see, we're starting to do with flat fives and sharp fives and stuff like that. So, and so this is maybe a little bit more intermediate. This is a little bit more beginner. So we'll start with this and we'll see what questions you got and then we'll move on. So at the top here, I've got the C major scale laid out. So I got C, D, E, F, G, A, B. I'm not going to put C again because C is the octave. So C is 1, and therefore the C above this B would also be 1. So it doesn't make sense for me to do that twice. So here are the 7 notes of the C major scale. And as you can see, I've labeled C and the number 1 yellow, D and the number 2 green, and G and the number 5 blue. Now, Mike Neighbor has kind of gone through this a little bit already, so he should know what we're talking about, and actually he might be able to help you answer some of your questions if he's remembered what we talked about. So hopefully he has. So here's some of the basics. These notes here are the scale of C major. Okay, but each one of those is also a chord. If I was to play a C with my thumb and then play E with my middle finger, and then we get C, E, and then G with my little finger, we get C, E, and G. That's a C major chord. Now, if I just keep moving these three notes together up, we get the next chords. We're effectively harmonizing the C major scale, okay, in three-part harmony. We call these triads because there are three notes. Okay, so what we find is that chord 1 is major. And that's because of the makeup of the major scale being different intervals. So basically the relationship between C and D is a tone. So tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, up to the top there. Okay, so that's why chord 1 is major, because it's made up of a major third and a fifth. Okay, chord 2, which is in green, is D. So this will be D minor. It's not going to be major because major would be an F sharp. So there's major, so there's minor. We need an F natural, not an F sharp. And then chord 5 is major, but in this context, we want a 7th chord. Okay, so we would want G7, because G7 now resolves back to the chord of C. Okay, chord 5 always resolves to chord 1. Okay, now because I'm doing 5 to 1, we're not really changing key. We're just emphasizing the fact that we're in the key of C. Okay, so that's just emphasized that we're in the key of C. All right, so here is why I have pointed out chord 1, chord 2, and chord 5. These are the chords we need to change from one key to another. If I move the screen down a bit. So here's the key part of the formula. This is the major ingredient right here. To change key, we do this chord progression, 2, 5, 1, in the target key, not the key that we're in. If I do 2, 5, 1 in the key that we're in C, this is what we get. 2, 5, 1. I have not changed key. I've just reinforced the key that we're in. Okay, Deer Creek has had to back out. That's unfortunate, Deer Creek. I'm sorry about that. I hope that was not content related and more kind of like quality of stream related. Sorry about that. Robert is asking, am I removing the 5th and replacing with the 7th? No, I am not. I still have the 5th in the chord. It's just that the G chord, you add the 7th to it. So it would be G, B, D, and then F. All right, so G, B, D. There's my G chord. That's chord 5. And then we add the 7th at the top. Okay? Or you can put it at the bottom if you want. Depends how you're going to resolve it. You're going to resolve downwards, resolve that E down to a first inversion C major chord, or are we going to go? Okay. So we want to go and do 2, 5, 1 in the target key. So as we can see here, in the key of C, 2, 5, 1 is D minor, G7, C. And this is what we did just now. So let's say I want to go from the key of C to the key of G. Okay. I want to play A minor, D7, and G. So if I'm in the key of C, very much in the key of C here. Okay, let's go to the key of G. Here we go. A minor, D7, and now in the key of G. Okay, and then to go back, I want to do the 251 in C. D minor, G7, C. All right, so let's say now, whilst we're still in the key of C, I wanted to go to the key of E, which is not at all related. At least G was related. That's why I chose that as the first option there. So the key of E is not at all related to the key of C. So it's going to sound a little bit more marginally unusual, but it would have the same effect. And it basically means when you're going from one major key to another major key, you can go from any major key to any other major key. And I did this with Mike Neighbor the other night. I basically got him to call out a key for me to go to. And he tested me pretty good, I'll tell you that, from going from one key to another. But basically, I'm using the same formula over and over again: 251, 251, 251. All right, so key of E, we want F sharp minor, B7 to E. Okay. So if we're in the key of C, let's get back to the key of C. Okay, there we are, back in the key of C. I want to go to the key of E now. And back. Okay, you see how that works? It's the same formula every time. So let's pick another key. Let's say I'm going to go from the key of C to the key of A flat. Okay. Here we are in C major. Here we go. Coming to A flat. B flat minor. E flat 7. A flat. How about A major from there? B minor, E7, A. Quite why I'm playing this as a samba, I'm not sure, but anyway, I'll keep with it for now. How about the key of F? G minor, C, 7, F. D flat, E flat minor, A flat, D flat. And then back to C. All right, so that is how you go from one key to any other key, one major key to any other major key. And that is your formula. Chord 2, chord 5 to chord 1 in your target key. So my target key, going from the key of C to the key of G, my target is G. That's where I want to end up. So I need to use these chords to get there. A minor, D7 lands me in G. To go to the key of E, F sharp minor, B7 lands me in E. All right. Now this is going to be handy for you guitar players because 7 chords and minor chords are fairly easy to voice on a guitar. So it's piano players that have to find their fingers a little bit. There are chord dictionaries. You can look online for those, or there are books actually out there that have a complete dictionary of every possible piano chord, from the simple to the extremely complex. So I'm hoping, folks, that going from major key to major key should now be a lot easier. Okay. Let's see. Robert Overbeek says, okay, I'm slow. 1, 4, 5, then switch key by going 2, 5, 1. No, the way to change key is 2, 5, 1. 1, 4, 5 is just, that's just a set of chord changes. Okay. That was just a set of chord changes that I was playing. But this is the key here. This is how you get from one key to another. You go 2, so in the key of G, 2 in the key of G. So if we to find 2 in the key of G, you'd have to use the G major scale. That's the G major scale. So there's G, there's 1. So 2 is going to be next door. There's 2. That's A. A is mine. 2 is minor, so it would be A minor. And then 5. Count up 5 notes from G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's chord 5. That's a D7. So that has D, A, F sharp, and a C. And that leads you to G major. Okay. So hopefully that works. So A minor, D7, G. And I said power tip there, using 251 changes, you can go from any key to any other key. So using this formula, you can go from any major key to any other major key, however distantly removed. So you can be in the key of C and go to the key of F sharp, just by using this same formula. The thing that you need to know is what chord is chord 2 and what chord is chord 5 of the new key. All right. So that's where you need to do a little bit of figuring out. And the way you do that little bit of figuring out is you need to know what the major scale of your target key is. Okay. So if we're in C, there's C. So we want to go to F sharp. We want to go here. Okay. So F sharp, that's my 1. There's my 2, which would be G sharp in this context. So F sharp, A sharp, sorry, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, then B, then C sharp, that's chord 5. So I've got 2, 5, 1. Okay, that's what 2, 5, 1 sounds like. 2 is always minor, so you work out where your minor third is. So that's going to be G sharp, B, D sharp. Okay, that's chord 2, and then chord 5 is going to be always the 7th. So you're going to have a C sharp and an E sharp, because we're going to a key that has lots of sharps in it. So it's going to be E sharp, which is the same, enharmonically the same as an F. But because we're working in sharp keys, we have to call this E sharp. That's kind of a little bit of kind of advanced stuff in harmonics, and why you have C flats and F flats and E sharps and B sharps and stuff. You just, in certain keys, you just do. It's to make things easier to read when you're reading music, so you're not having to put in lots of accidentals. So, you know, I don't want to have to do F natural if I'm in a sharp key, you know. And there I am in F sharp. Okay. I've kind of skimmed over that reason. I realize that, but it will, you know, the more you actually just experiment with this formula and try and find some different key centers, you'll find some different key centers. The more you kind of just try things out. Just Bob says this would be a great video to dive in depth on. Well, I actually have already. I've got a couple of videos on this already. I've done one which is all about major keys, and then I've done another one which is all about minor keys. Those are on my YouTube channel, and I do go into a bit more depth. But I decided, hey, you know, let's revisit the subject. Let's revisit the subject and see, you know, how into this people are. Robert Overbeek says, okay, you mean scale change to key, not chord progression to another key. Well, we are dealing with chord progressions, okay? We are dealing with chord progressions. I know this is a little bit confusing, but we're dealing with a chord progression. So we're dealing with D minor, which is chord 2, going to chord 5, G7, to C, chord 1. All right, or if we're going to the key of F major from here, we'd be going chord 2 in F, which would be G minor, to C7, which would be chord 5, to chord 1, which would be F. So they are, you know, yes, you are using scales. You kind of there's a sense where you have to. That is one approach you can take. You can work out what chord 2 is and what chord 5 is in the new key by working them out using the scale of the new key. Okay, so if you're going to E flat, for example, well, 1 is E flat, F is going to be 2, B flat is going to be 5, 2, 5, 1. Okay, so you already know that 1 is major, so therefore 2 is going to be minor. So it's going to be F, A flat, and C, and then 5 is going to be B flat 7. So it's going to be B flat, D, F, A flat to 1, which is E flat major. So the just Bob asked, so the numbers are representing the alphabets, the keys of music. That is correct. Yes. Yep. So when I'm talking about 251, I'm talking about the second note of the scale, the fifth note of the scale, and the root of the scale, which would be in the key of C, that would be C, obviously. The key of F, that would be F. Key of A flat, that would be A flat. So chord 2 in A flat is going to be B flat minor, because A flat, B flat, 2 is always minor. And then 5 is always dominant, or it's always a 7th chord, I should say. Okay, so 2, 5, 1. Key of A, upper semitone. All right, so here we are in A, 2, 5, 1. A is going to be 1, go up 1 note. It's going to be B. It's going to be B minor, E7. 2, 1. Okay. Robert Ulbeek says, I'll have to watch your other videos later. I've left key for chorus at the subdominant and then back, but not like you're doing. That is interesting. Yeah, well, you know what? You can go to any other key. You can go to any key you want. If you want your chord, like there are some songs out there. In fact, I worked with a singer who struggled actually with a particular song that she was singing. She could sing the verse in the correct key, fine, but when we got to the chorus, it was just marginally outside of her register. So what we did was we put the verse up a semitone. So I think the song was in D originally. So what we did was we transposed that verse to the key of E flat. Because she could sing that nice and comfortably. And then what we did was we actually went down a semitone, for which is, you'd say, you know, counterintuitive to go down for the chorus, but it really actually worked for her. It meant that she could sing it comfortably. And the way we did it, we did the key change in such a way that you never actually noticed you changed key. And we did that by doing a series of these little 2/5 progressions, little, you know, we ended up going from here. I think it went. I think this was the first changes: E flat, C minor, F minor to B flat, and then I needed to get to key of D. So. And then, like the chorus had this little rising bass line. I seem to recall that was the chorus. But the fact that the melody was quite high, and D is just a little bit of a brighter sounding key, albeit lower by a semitone than E flat. E flat sounds nice and rich and warm, and yes, maybe slightly melancholic. Key of D doesn't. Key of D is quite bright and forthright and the chorus of this song was really forthright and strong and defiant, So that's why we did that. And it really worked. It really worked for the song. The song actually did make it on the charts in the UK, very impressively. And I was credited. I had the arranger credit and the producer credit, because it had basically been my arrangement of this song. Song itself was not really that well written, so I did some. I used a few arranging techniques and a few arranging tricks up my sleeve that I've learned over the years to make this song have a real lift, and it really worked. It charted, so there you go. Vadcha at Recording Studio 9s is here. Good to see you, mate. Skip Jones says, yo, brother. Good to see you, Skip. Thanks for coming. Just Bob says, you trick the ear through pleasant notes and grouping common notes to make the change. Exactly. That's where the real skill with changing keys really is. And you can actually lead the listener's ear to really believe that they haven't changed key at all, even if you've led them from one key to a very distant and remote key. And you do it by preparing the listener for particular sounds that they would hear, like particular notes that don't belong in the key that you're in. You prepare the listener for that target key by introducing some of those notes that belong to your target key. So if we are in the key of C, but we want to go to the key of A flat, what I might do in the lead up to it is I might suggest it just a little bit by suggesting maybe I might do, instead of like regular C, A minor, F, G, I might have a little spot leading up to that, maybe in a bridge. Like if my chorus is going to be in A flat, maybe in the bridge leading up to it, I'll do something like I'll go. And then I would do my B flat minor. And then to get back to the key of C, I might do something similar. I might go. See how subtle that was? I didn't even do a 2-5-1 and it worked. I actually substituted a little bit. I cheated marginally. I went A flat, that's where my root is. And then I did E flat with the G in the bass. Sneaky, but the G in the bass suggests the key of C. And then I did F major. And then G to C. So a little deception there, a slightly advanced little technique there, where I used the third of an E flat major chord, put that in the bass, so it's only suggesting rather than directly playing an E flat chord, because I could have done that, I suppose. I could have done this. But that's a little bit more strident and a little bit more kind of in your face and quite obvious, which might be what you want to do for your song. But in this particular case, I wanted to be subtle and deceive your ear into thinking that we've not changed key. So that's pretty much how I would do that. So I hope that has helped. Maybe on the next live stream, we can tackle the more complex key changing thing to do with minor keys, because it does get a little bit tricky. It's not impossible, so I'm not wanting to put you off, but I am wanting to say it's possible. And once you understand why we have to have flat fives and sharp fives, because it's all to do with the scale, because a major scale is nice and obvious and easy. Minor key, yeah, not so much. Okay, so there's a lot more accidentals involved with a C minor, because C minor is essentially the A flat. C minor is essentially the E flat major scale, but starting on C, more or less. Slightly different. Mike says, you said last night that those chords like G/A minor, the first one is the chord, the second is the bass note. Yeah, but you wouldn't say G/A minor, you'd say G/A, because you don't play a chord on the bass, you play the note A. So it would be, here's my G major chord, and I play an A in the bass. So in the little example I did earlier, where I went A flat, E flat over G, that'd be E flat slash G. The bass note is G. Okay, so it'd be. Okay. So when you have a slash chord like that, an E flat slash G, it's talking about a single bass note being the G. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's right, Mike. You have got it. So yeah, so anytime you have a chord and a different bass note that is not the root of the chord, you put a little slash. Robert Overbeek says, listen to Marty Friedman. He's awesome on guitar, following key changes in solos with that chord scale. I'm working with it, but it's another universe to explore. Absolutely. Yeah, it is. There's no doubting about it that this is kind of like for some people, this is a whole new realm. The whole idea of changing from one key to another is a big, major thing. But you know what? It gives you a whole new world for songwriting to explore, or arranging to explore, because the harmonic ideas are, the harmonic possibilities are incredible. I mean, you can do a whole string of 2 5s, string them together to lead your listener on a wild goose chase, so that they get completely disorientated and they never realize where they are. So for example, I'll just play you a silly little example. Okay, so let's say we're in a key G and we're playing kind of like a bluesy vamp in G. See, with that, it's kind of a blues. But what you can do, let's say you want to shift it up, because let's say you got a trumpet player, or you got an alto sax player that doesn't like playing in sharp keys. Wants to play a solo in a different key. So you want to change that key for that sax player for their solo, right? So you want to give them a nice send off, but you also want to change the key. So you can do a whole string of 2 5s. That are just strung together. So for example, I could go. And now they're happily blowing over the key of D, which is where we were then. But I went round the houses, didn't I? I basically went, what did I do? So I was in G, and then I went, oh crap, I can't remember what I did. Oh, that's $1 in the swear jar. I said crap. That's $2 in the swear jar. I think I went B flat minor, E flat 7, and then, so that was a 2 5 1 in A flat, but then instead of going A flat major, I went A flat minor to make that a 2, to set me up for 2 5 1 in G flat. But instead of making that G flat major, I made that G flat minor, or F sharp minor, to to set me up for E, but instead of making that E major, I made that E minor to do E minor, A7 to D. Okay, so 2 5s can be strung together. You just need to make sure that the one that you land on, you turn into a minor chord, so it sets you up for the next 2 5. So that becomes a 2 of a new key. And you're just stringing them together. So, you know, you can just string them together totally. And now I'm in the key of C. And I've just gone round the houses with 2 5 1s until I got there. All right, so that's a whole world of possibilities. And in fact, jazz music is largely built on 2 5 1 progressions. And, you know, just playing those chord changes, I was automatically kind of in my head, I was improvising over those 2 5 patterns, because, you know, those are the things that we learn when we're studying, you know, the great jazz musicians like John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, you know, Oscar Peterson, all of that stuff, which is the stuff I grew up with. So I hope that that has been really helpful. I'm going to take, it's already 1 o'clock, but my demo kind of overran a little bit and we got into the demo a little bit late. So I will take any questions you've got on this real quick before we wrap up tonight. And I can come out of that now on my phone. There we go. So any questions, go for it, folks. All right, let's see. Robert Overbeek says G major, C major, D major, drop to second, A minor, then C major, F major, G major. Are you talking about, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about here, Robert. You're talking about going from which key to which key? You're talking about going from G major to C? I'm not sure what you are talking about. So what I'm talking about, Robert, is I'm talking about a chord 2, which in the key of C would be D minor, and a chord 5, which would be G in C, and then chord 1. So if you wanted to go from the key of C major to the key of G major, when you're in the key of C, at some point when you're ready to go to your new key, you just play A minor 7 or A minor, D7, and G, and you're there. You've arrived. It's no more complicated than that. Just 2, 5, 1. That's all it is of your new key. So if your new key is B flat, then your 2 is going to be C minor, and your 5 is going to be F. Or let's say you're going to E major, then you're in a sharp key, so your 2 chord is going to be F sharp minor, your 5 is going to be B7, and then to E. Okay, so it's a formula. It's just simply a 2, 5, 1 formula. Okay, so let's try some of those. So you want to go to the key of G from the key of C. Okay, so there we are in C. Okay, we want to go A minor, D7, G. But let's say once we're there, we also want to go to E. F sharp minor, B7, E. And let's say whilst we're there, we also want to go to B flat. So we're in E, now we go C minor, F7, B flat. And now we want to go back. D minor, G7, C. Okay, so it's literally just a 2 chord formula. And that's all it is, you know. Forget harmonic wheels, forget cycle of fifths for the moment. They are useful and they will help you. But at this starting out phase, just get yourself working on the 2, 5, 1 formula. And it's always 2, 5, 1 of the new key, not the key you're in. If you do just the key you're in, you'll stay in the key that you're in and you won't be able to get out of it. You'll just be going D minor 7, G7, C, D minor, G7, C. It'd be like Groundhog Day. Musical Groundhog Day. And you won't be able to get out of it until you punch somebody, which I don't recommend. Okay? So it's always 2-5-1 in your new key. So if your new key is A flat and you're in the key of C and you want to go to A flat, you do 2-5-1 in the new key. So 2 is B flat minor, 5 is E flat 7, and 1 is A flat. All right. Robert Overbeek asks, what's the name of my videos for this? It's the videos are called The Power of the Key Change, and I did them ages ago. So I was not nearly as good at making videos then as I am now. I'm a lot better at it. So they're okay. They'll certainly get across what I've been talking about tonight, definitely. And they're about 20 or so minutes long each. So yeah, so go check those out. If anybody's still got any questions, then certainly be sure to email me at johnny@jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, and I'll be happy to help you with any other questions that you have. Just Paul says, what are the relative notes that help the change? I wouldn't worry about relative notes right now. Relative notes and preparation notes and all that kind of stuff. Those are classical modulation devices. And those are some of the things that Mike and I talked about the other night. When you're writing classical music or orchestral music, then you have to abide by certain rules for changing keys, which, yes, the 2-5-1 is kind of part of it. But in orchestral music, you can be a little bit more direct about how you change key. But also you can use preparatory notes. And that's a big part of writing orchestral music is preparation notes. If you're not writing orchestral music, then preparation notes don't really apply because you don't need them. You just follow this 2-5-1 formula and you will change key for Scotland, for England, for Wales, for Northern Ireland, for the whole of the UK, for all 50 states of the United States of America, all African nations, and Australasia as well. Easy peasy. And you'll do it with your eyes closed eventually. You won't even think about it. Okay? Just use this very, very simple formula. This is why I chose to make a video series like I did a few years ago talking about 2-5-1, because it's so simple. It's a really simple little formula that is so very, very powerful and will take you from one key to any other key, to any other key, to any other key, to any other key. You can unlock as many doors as you want. You hold all the keys, literally. You are the jail master. You have all of the keys at your disposal. You just need to choose the right one and put it in the right lock, and you're through. Okay? 2-5-1 is the right lock. You're just selecting the correct key. Boing, in you go. The key has got a 2 and it's got a 5 and a 1. You just put it in the correct lock. Boink, you're open. You're through the door. Just Bob says, I think we're overthinking a bit. Yeah, it is so simple. It is just 2-5-1. That's all it is. Chord 2, chord 5, chord 1. That was in G, B flat minor. Sorry. A flat major. 2-5-1. G flat. 2-5-1. Okay. F major. 2-5-1. E major. F sharp minor, B7, E. A major, B minor 7, E7. Hey. A. All right, D major. Let's try D major, okay? So E minor, A7, D, G major, A minor 7, D7, G. And you can string all of these lovely key changes together. Or D flat, okay? E flat minor, A flat 7, D flat, 2-5-1, 2-5-1, 2-5-1. And that's all there is to it, guys. All right. So you just need to spend a little time working out what 2 is and what 5 is and how to play it, and then you're away. Okay? And there are various. If you Google chord diagrams for keyboard or chord diagrams for guitar in every major key, you will be fine. And you'll get like a whole bunch of images, PDFs that you can just download, and away you go. You'll be playing 251s in every possible key, and that opens up a whole realm for improvisation. It opens you up to jazz standards. It opens you up to bebop. It opens you up to cool jazz. Opens you up to Latin jazz, and away you go. Yes, I was slightly out of tune with the piano. I was singing a little flat because I was only half singing. Robert Overbeek says you need a tip jar on this. Great show tonight. Thanks. Well, I'm very glad it helped you, my friend. And I don't have a tip jar, I'm afraid. I did, but they took monetization away from us smaller channels because some idiot decided to post a completely inappropriate video on YouTube and monetize it. And of course, all the advertising bots then went and sold all that advertising space on that completely inappropriate video. And advertisers were then just like, oh my gosh, we've been actually endorsing this completely inappropriate video. And so that then prompted a complete knee-jerk reaction from YouTube. And that basically meant that now you have to have not only more than 1,000 subscribers, you also have to have some ridiculous amount of watch time per 12 months. Robert Overbeek says, will the VIP be like this? Yes, it will. It will. There will be content just like this in the VIP. So I'm hopeful that this has given you a little bit of a flavor. I'll be doing clinics, if you can call it that, like this, where we explore a particular songwriting tool like key changing, stuff like that. So we will look at arranging, we'll look at writing for horn sections, we'll be looking at writing for strings, we'll be looking at backing vocal, harmonizing, that kind of thing. Stuff like that will be there. Whoopi says, why stay with YouTube? Because it's an extremely popular platform, and it's dead easy to create links which I can use in on other platforms, pretty much. I could go to another video platform. I could go to Vimeo, but Vimeo charges you. If you want to have a premium channel there, they charge you for that. And there are some other video platforms as well that I'm not going to go into. And the other thing is that not all of them allow you to create to do live streams in stereo. A lot of them will only allow you to do a live stream in mono, which is not great. Now, Google Hangouts, by the way, is a mono platform. But if I was to use something like OBS, if I had the bandwidth for it, that would be in stereo. Or Wirecast to do streams, that would be in stereo to YouTube. But other platforms, they don't let you do stereo. Twitch does let you do stereo. You can stream to Twitch. But they don't have something like Google Hangouts where you can stream directly into Twitch. So I wouldn't be able to use Twitch. No point. So yeah. YouTube is the most watched, most searched platform that there is on the internet, pretty much, after Facebook. So that's why I stay with YouTube, because it means that people get access to my free content very, very easily. Now, when it comes to my paid for content, that's a different matter entirely. That will be a very different platform. So I'm glad that this was a really good and helpful show for you guys. I'm planning to do more of this kind of stuff to give, and the idea will be to give you a little bit of a flavor of what you can expect from my VIP when that launches, which is going to be pretty soon. We're very, very close now. So be ready for that. And if you are signed up to my email list, you'll get advance notice of when that is going to come, so that you can be very ready, and you can have advance notice of when it's all coming and stuff. And you'll get some extra bonus content just for being on my email list, and just to celebrate the fact that we're launching VIP when we do. If you're not on my email list, in the description below this video, there is a link to go sign up for my email list. If you do that, you'll get a 5-video, I think it's 5-video series on compression, and you'll get some stems of one of my songs from my EP from 2016. The song is called Chanel, and you can have those stems, you can mix it, you can upload your mix to SoundCloud and stuff. All you need to do really with that is just make sure you credit me as the artist. Okay. Other than that, it's all yours, guys. Just read a couple more comments and then we're going to wrap up. Y64 Studio says, good advice. Thanks for your great work. You're welcome. Whippy says, okay, cool. People are creating new platforms, so it'll be cool. I look forward to the new site. Yeah, the VIP is going to come first, and then the website is going to get a little bit of an overhaul and a spring clean to kind of go with it. So the two actually, look like each other. But we want to get the VIP up first before we start touching the website, to be honest. So because the VIP is going to be, it's more important. It's the priority. All right, guys. Well, I got to go too. Mike says he's got to go and he'll be in touch. So yeah, I have to go too. It's already 1:15 in the morning, and I've got some stuff to do before I get to bed. So thanks a lot for coming. We had, I think at peak, we had about 19 or 20 people here, which is not bad. We dropped down to 11 now, but that's okay. All right, folks. I will see you on the next stream. I will be on Songwriting Simplified with Johnny Gibe on Wednesday. So you need to go over to his YouTube channel for that. And they are always tremendously entertaining. And I try and provide the best songwriting information that I can possibly give. All right, guys, take care. And I will see you very soon. Good night.